So welcome everybody. We're excited to have you join us today. My name is Bernard May. I'm the CEO of National Physicians. I'm here today with Matt Erickson, who's our Director of Marketing, and Joseph Cappello, our Addiction Treatment Specialist. And please, as we go along, you should see a box on the right-hand side of your screen, which is for Join Me. Please ask any questions along the way, and we'll answer those at the end. And so without further ado, let's get straight to the agenda. We have a jam-packed presentation today, and we are going to start out by talking a little bit about how the changes have occurred in Google, and we'll be looking at why those changes occurred, and we'll talk a little bit about that and how that could have affected you. We'll jump into 9 success strategies that we should consider to supplement your marketing activities in lieu of these Google changes. And after that, we'll open up the floor for questions. But first, just a quick note about who we are, for those of you who haven't heard about us. We're National Physicians. We were founded in April of 2004. So we've been around for almost 14 years. We're headquartered here in Westlake, California. We're one of 3% of the top agencies in the world that can call themselves a Google Premier Partner. And we've won numerous awards over time, including the Inc. 500 Award, which we won 3 years in a row. We have 62 employees here in Westlake, California, with another 100 across the globe. And we like to think that we're one of just a handful of agencies as well that are truly experts in the addiction treatment vertical.
Hello, everybody.
So I'm going to hand over to Matt.
Yeah. All right. This is Matt Erickson. So we're going to take a quick look at the current situation that's going on with Google right now. So in September of this year, Google has made some changes to its advertising policies that, in essence, removed almost all advertising for addiction treatment centers and rehab centers. As far as specific keywords, specific phrases, or standards that were applied to this update, they're not 100% completely clear, so we're going to examine that in a moment. But this has resulted, as you can see here, with almost all PPC advertising being removed, and it has been affecting site traffic and lead generation and conversion funnels for our clients. So let's take a quick look at just the queries for addiction treatment centers and rehab centers from 2016 to 2017 has continued to grow. And if we look at even just breaking it down by mobile and by desktop, we have almost 40% growth on mobile. We have 26% growth on desktop, and it's growing across the board. So why would Google blanket an apparent, a $35 billion industry with an apparent blacklisting of terms when there's obviously people searching for this? They could have made no changes and continued to just collect ad revenue. So let's look at some of these reasons. One of the reasons could be political pressures. The new administration has made the opioid epidemic a major part of its policy agenda, and because of this, there are news stories coming out every day about this epidemic. And Google most likely wanted to decide that it's being part of the solution and not part of the problem. When you have stories like this on the left coming out, every day, is from the New York Times, from the Huffington Post, and from CBS. Google needs to make sure that they're doing their due diligence and not making themselves part of the problem. So, and also Google cited on their the New York Times article that there's been some abuse of the platform by some advertisers, including misleading advertising and potential fraud. So all of this and a myriad of other reasons have caused them to examine their advertising standards for your industry. So like I said, there's no line in the sand here. So we're going to show you what we mean by that. So these are just some searches we did just a couple days ago. If we search for a specific facility, in this case, Avalon, Malibu, we're seeing advertising pop up. So there's obviously some advertising we can do. And in this case, this means that people are using, competitors are bidding on keywords of other competitors to bring up advertising. If we look at our next one here, we have cocaine treatment, and there's no advertising that is served up for this. But if we search for marijuana treatment, we have advertising again. And finally, if we do something a little more general, which is, drug rehab and then the location, in this case, Malibu, The results we get are from Maps and from Google My Business accounts. So there's no clear-cut answer to what exactly is going on, but we do know that these changes continue to evolve day to day, week to week. So this is the reason we've created this presentation, to help our clients and others in the industry find out how they can market with all these changes that Google is making to their PPC. So that being said, we're going to jump into our first strategy, which is going to go to Bernard with local SEO and organic search.
Yeah, so starting with strategy number one, local SEO and organic search is probably one of my favorite topics, because when done right, SEO can be one of the cheapest and most effective digital strategies that keeps generating leads for you over and over. So I'm going to dive into this and give you a whole lot of tips. So often we find with addiction treatment centers that a lot of them will say this strategy takes too long and it's too hard. And what I hope to do is to give you some ideas of why you really should be doing a local SEO. Number one is it's going to attract more and better quality visitors. It can generate more relevant leads than almost any other strategy. And the more relevant the leads, the better the conversion rate into clients. And interestingly enough, as a byproduct of search engine optimization, not only will you generate organic results, but you can also reduce the cost of your paid search campaign by improving the overall relevancy and quality score of your website. We often get the questions, why local SEO versus national? And I think the question is more, how do you find a niche in a highly competitive market? So to be successful with addiction treatment marketing, you need to choose a segment that you can dominate, such as a geographic location. That's why we say local search, and in most cases we recommend that. Or you can go national, but you could be like a luxury rehab or a rehab that is, or addiction treatment center that is focused on college students or bipolar, or some kind of market position that can truly differentiate you out there. So one thing for sure is that Google owns local search, and one of the easiest ways to generate results is to go with the flow and to fit in with what Google wants. In fact, a recent local SEO study from last month shows that many of the most important ways to rank on Google is to get reviews and also to dominate Google My Business. So how do you dominate Google My Business? The first thing is to choose the right category. And then the next thing is to upload a lot of photos and videos. So Google's really trying to build out their presence, and if you help them, they'll help you. So update photos, get lots of videos, and finally get a lot of reviews. And obviously 4- and 5-star reviews help you a lot. So where does your website fit in? People might say, well, I can just dominate the search engines by working on Google My Business. Well, that isn't really true, because your organic results for your website actually help get your results in the Maps and the 3-pack, which is that 3 listing that you see whenever you type in a location. Although this topic is a really big one, in summary, the way to get results organically for your website is by generating having a technically sound website, having great links back to your site, producing nice, helpful content, and making a website that's easy to navigate. So user experience is important. And most important, finding that niche that you can actually dominate, as we spoke about before. So here's some tips to take away, and we try to make this really practical, and I have tips on every single one of these areas. First, have patience with SEO. It does take time, but it will pay off, and you will get a really good return on investment. Focus on getting reviews. Get as many reviews as you can, as many good reviews as you can. Generate links through your content marketing. So if you have great content, you will organically generate links. But some tricks are that we have a lot of different tricks of generating links, but one of the best tricks is by sponsoring events and getting those people that you sponsor to link back to you. Become an authority by writing and distributing great, unique content. I'm going to speak a lot more about content and how that will help you, but content is a huge factor. And understand the questions that people are asking and write helpful content in response. So what we're finding is that Google really ranks answers to questions very, very high in the search engines. So there's a great way to find the responses is to go to places like Yahoo Answers or to Quora, which is another website out on the web. Try and find the kind of questions people are asking, and then try and answer those in your content. create a terrific user experience, and really, really focus on mobile before desktop. So right now there's more traffic on mobile devices for drug rehab searches. So really focus on the mobile user experience. So the next thing was I just wanted to talk about is here's an example of a case study that we did just to show you the power of local SEO, 288% increase in organic traffic, 309% increase in new users, 959% increase in new goal completions. And so now we've set up this SEO kind of powerhouse, that our client can get a lot of new leads on a monthly basis. So I'm going to jump onto the next strategy, which is content. Why does content marketing matter? Your content is how Google finds you, and also how you gain authority on the web. So really, when they say content is king, that is the truth. It is all about content. And that content, as you'll see, comes in lots of different shapes and sizes. But before we jump into one of the studies that we did on content and what kind of content you should write, we want to talk a little bit about this idea of understanding personas. Before you write anything, you really need to understand your target market. These are most often not the clients themselves, as you know, but their families or people that are have an interest in the client. In persona development, you try and understand what makes them tick. What are their interests? Where do they consume their content? That's really important as well. Most people think everyone's going to consume their content on their website, and that's not true. People do consume content, for instance, social media. They consume content on YouTube and a myriad of other places. We also want to understand where your personas are in the decision-making process. So we look at the sales funnel. Are people at the initial stages where they're looking for general information? So if that's the case, then Google's really good, and YouTube and social media. Well, if they're getting closer to making a decision, then we want to look more at reviews and at your actual website itself. Now that you know who you're creating the content for and their needs and wants, then you can really start building that content. So where do you start with content? There are lots of different types of content. There's blogging, there's long form, there's short form, there's case studies, there's ebooks, there's infographics, there's video. All of that is considered as content. All of these are important, and each has its place. The first question to ask, though, is where do my clients and their families and those decision makers hang out on the web? Some people like to, as I said, read their content. Others like to watch videos, and yet others like to look at images, and that's where infographics come in. So the next thing we need is to work out, where your audiences are in that decision-making process. So we went and did a study. We took 10,000 pieces of content to see what we could learn. And we found that this, and in fact, as you see on the slide here, the list content is the most effective type of content. So you might say, well, what is a list content? Let me show you what that looks like. Top 10 addiction documentaries. Your top ways to help a loved one beat addiction. 15 tips for getting the most out of rehab. So those are the types of content that did really well. They are, just going backwards again, the what posts, the how posts, the videos. These are all really helpful as well. But if you wanted to start somewhere, the best place to start is really with those lists. So again, we looked at that top 10,000 pieces of content, and we found that the long form content, 2,000 to 3,000 word articles ranked best on Google. We also found that Tuesdays and Thursdays actually being the most valuable days to post on Facebook. And in fact, if you look at all the social media environments, you'll see that Facebook by far is the best place to invest in social media compared to other areas like Twitter or LinkedIn, which have some placement, and Pinterest, which really doesn't have any uptake right now. So I'm just going to leave you with a couple of tips. As we mentioned before, your niche and becoming an expert is really, really important. That's the first thing I would do before anything else. Like, what is going to make your treatment center stand out amongst others? Google loves content that answers questions, so find out first what people are asking about. We mentioned Quora and Yahoo Answers. It's a great place to go to try and find out what questions people are asking. The law of reciprocity says that in human nature, if you give someone something, they're going to give you something back. And that's what you need to do in content. You need to keep giving people more and more great content, and that's the way that you build authority and credibility in the marketplace. Next, think beyond writing words. Consider videos and infographics and presentations and things like that. We did mention 2,000 to 3,000 words. That's a lot. And my feeling is, and it's going to be our next presentation that we'll give in the next couple of weeks, is what is 2018 going to look like? Well, video is extremely important. If you're going to invest somewhere, invest in video. My next tip is about mobile. So many companies build their content around the desktop, while more than 50% of all the visitors coming to your site are on mobile right now. You need to think about small screens. You need to think about mobile users. And mobile users are more likely to consume video than they are to sit there on their phones reading long text content. And finally, write less about you and more about your prospects and clients. That, I think, is a mistake that we see all the time, is that drug addiction treatment centers are looking at why talking about themselves and not about helping the clients. And I think it is important to have information about you, but spending a lot more time on the needs of your clients is extremely important. Last thing, I guess I said last, but one other thing to consider is voice searches, and we'll be talking about that as well as we're talking about 2018 trends, but that's important in your content development as well. So heading now on to strategy number 3 with Matt again. So why social, Matt?
Why social? Why not social? One of the biggest arguments for using social is just the audience it has. It has over 2 billion active users and over 1.6 daily active users on the platform. Facebook does about 1 billion searches a day, and also there's over 65 million business pages on Facebook. So what does all that mean? It pretty much means that any audience you need or that you need to target, you can use social media, in this case Facebook, as we've been talking about, to target them. We talked about content, and you can see here, like we said, the majority of sharing is done on Facebook, but there's a great quote that says, if content is fire, social media is the gasoline. Your best opportunity is to focus your efforts on where your audience is. In this case, Facebook is the preferred place to distribute, find, and share your content. One thing that a lot of businesses tend to forget is that Facebook is also a search engine. People are doing their own research. They're using it more frequently to find and contact addiction treatment centers and rehab centers like yours. So spinning off of that, what can you do? Is you can provide program information and facility information and clear contact information. Make it clear and simple for people to contact you through your Facebook page and through Facebook Messenger. You want to make sure that you're adding photos and videos of your facility. Let the world know what you're all about. Anyone who's researching you wants to know more about what you do. You can create your own community groups, centered around your specific type of addiction recovery niche. So if you want to have a specific, alcohol addiction groups, you can create your own group. Or if you have a cocaine addiction, you can create your own group for that. So it's a great way to keep you involved and active with your clients. And then finally, you want to gather reviews because, as we have mentioned before, and we will mention again later, reviews are very important. They help reduce friction if someone's researching you and deciding to contact you. And maybe one of the most important reasons to make sure you have a presence and that you have your business page set up on Facebook is you're going to have better advertising capabilities than if you don't. You can advertise without a business page, but it's limited. So, as some of you know, or maybe you don't know, is that in the past few years, Facebook has really been tightening its grip on the organic reach that business pages have. The posts just aren't going as far as they did even 5 years ago. Even if your page has thousands of followers and a smattering of likes and engagement, your posts are likely going to have a limited reach on their own, just due to the sheer volume of content being uploaded to Facebook. But there are a few things that Facebook does like that can help you extend your organic reach. First, you want to make sure that you're posting content daily. So you can have posts like this, but if you're posting daily, it it lets people looking at your business page know that you have the latest content and you can share with them the latest information about your facilities and what's going on in your niche in the industry. Also, if you're posting daily content, it's more of an opportunity for people to like, share, and engage with your content, which is going to, in turn, Facebook sees that content as valuable and is going to show that content more often in the news feeds. But like I said, you also want to make sure that just everyone in general knows that you are current and active in your industry. If someone is comparing two different facilities, someone who's posting every day is going to be seen as more valuable than someone who posts maybe once a month. Something else Facebook really likes is original and highly targeted content. If you are doing a list, as we described earlier, doing something that's targeted, like 15 ways to help a family member with cocaine addiction in Los Angeles, is far more targeted than 15 ways to help with addiction. So if you're creating highly targeted content, Facebook really likes that. Also, video content, as we discussed, is highly valuable, and live video. So what kind of live video can you do? If you want to do a tour of your facility or introduce your staff, it's video that's going to stay on the Facebook platform, which Facebook finds very, very valuable. And finally, one thing just to note is that business pages have become much more of a pay-to-play on Facebook. I talked about the reach. So if you do want to push your posts out to more individuals, you can boost your posts. This involves putting a daily budget behind whatever you're posting, $5 a day, $20 a day, and you can push it out to a targeted audience. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that you have a presence on Facebook, and you can show the public that you're both an authority and up to date in your field. Now, everything we've been talking about more or less is organic on Facebook, but I did mention that having a business page can open the door to better advertising opportunities, so that's what we're going to take a look at next, and that is paid advertising on Facebook. So the big reason is, you have, 2.6 daily users, 2.6 billion daily users on Facebook, and you're posting every day. Why would you want to advertise? Well, Facebook is a powerful alternative to Google. With all these changes Google is making, we're not exactly sure what's going to happen week to week. So Facebook not only is a powerful alternative, but it lets you target in ways that Google just doesn't let you do. We're going to show you that in a moment. And also, maybe the best reason is it can cost a lot less to advertise on Facebook than what it costs you to advertise on Google paid search. So I want to show you one of the most interesting and powerful tools on Facebook if you're going to be advertising, and that is they have a tool called Audience Insights. Some of you may know about this, some of you may not. But this lets you target and create new audiences that you want to put your advertising in front of on Facebook. Now, instead of bidding on a keyword or something like that you do in Google, Facebook lets you target by demographic. It lets you target by geography. And more important, you can target by specific traits and likes that your specific target market may have. So as an example, if you wanted to target educated men 25 to 50 years old who lived in Los Angeles, who have been showing interest in self-help authors and made over $100,000 a year, you could do that. You could dive that and put that advertising in front of that particular audience, which in turn is going to let you spend your advertising dollars more effectively. Now, this seems like a lot. Doing an audience from scratch seems like a heavy task. Facebook offers you other targeting capabilities. So they have what's called custom audiences. This lets you use a current email list and or a list of numbers maybe you've collected over from past clients or potential clients, and you can upload it into Facebook Ads Manager, and it will go out on Facebook and find the profiles that are attached to that information and build you a custom audience that you can then market directly to. To extend that reach even further, Facebook can use the exact same information and build what's called a lookalike audience. And what that means is it's going to take that information and pull traits and likes and interests from those profiles from your custom audience to build you a very closely related looking lookalike audience. So you can target to another audience that way. And finally, we have remarketing. If you've advertised on Google, you're probably familiar with this, but it involves taking a small snippet of code that Facebook gives you, and it gets put on your website on any specific pages or your landing pages, and anyone who visits those pages or lands on them will then get put into a retargeting audience for Facebook. So anyone who has visited you and you want to talk to them again, Facebook lets you do that as well. So when it comes to specific targeting a specific audience, Facebook has some very robust tools to allow you to do this. Now, beyond just being able to target, what can you create? Facebook, again, lets you advertise in ways that Google just doesn't. Depending on the goals and the kind of campaign you want to do, you have 14 different types of campaign objectives to choose from on Facebook. That basically means if you wanted to do a local branding campaign and let everyone around you know you're there, you could do that. Or if you wanted to create a lead generation campaign with form fills, Facebook also has capabilities to do that. So pretty much whatever kind of advertising you want, Facebook will have a solution for you. I mentioned that the costs are generally lower, and that's because on Google, as most of you are probably familiar, is you're bidding on keywords, and these can cost $8, $12, $15 a click, just depending on the kind of keywords you're bidding on. On Facebook, you are paying to you're paying to put your ad in front of the audience. You're paying for the audience, not for the keyword. So this could cost $5 to $8 to put your ad in front of 1,000 people. And finally, we have just the flexibility that Facebook offers you in the types of advertising you can produce. So this includes most of you know, image advertising, and you can do GIF advertising. But you can also do video advertising, which we're going to go into more in a moment, but it's been growing exponentially, and it's a fantastic way to advertise on the platform if you have not tried it yet. So with the ability to target so granularly, and you can choose from a wide variety of advertising types and spend less than you've probably been spending on Google, Facebook can be a great way to diversify your advertising for your facility and letting everyone know what kind of programs you offer. That's a lot about social media. So we've talked a lot about social. So to kind of switch gears for a moment, we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and we mentioned video before, which what we're going to jump into is YouTube channels and video content. I mentioned that video is a fantastic way to advertise on Facebook, but in general, video as content is some of the most valuable and versatile content that you can create and use. So why YouTube, and why some more reasons for video? Well, one of the biggest ones is YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. You have Google, and then you have YouTube. Video is some of the most heavily consumed content on mobile. YouTube advertising is still available. If you haven't looked at this as an advertising possibility, you may not know how cost-effective it is. As I said before, a click on PPC could cost between $8 and $12. One view of your ad on YouTube could cost 10 to 12 cents, just depending on how long someone watches your ad. So it can be a very cost-effective way to advertise. And video content in general helps your website's SEO. Applying video to your site can definitely help with your SEO. And we're going to go into some of that. But first, we're going to look at YouTube. Now, like I said, it's the second largest search engine in the world. Audiences are going to YouTube beyond just searching in Google. They're searching in YouTube to learn about facilities like yours and learning about your value prop. Having a complete and branded channel, it's like having another website to help you get found and help tell people about your addiction treatment center. It lets you express your value prop in a visual way and usually in a faster way. You can also link your website and all your other social media to your YouTube channel, so it becomes another hub for your content. And finally, this is something a lot of people overlook, is that something very important is that YouTube being a search engine, you want to make sure that your video content, your channel, your titles, your descriptions, your links, all of that is searchable. So we refer to this as VSEO or video SEO. You want to make sure they can search it on Google and on YouTube. So I mentioned that video has benefits to your SEO. So let's examine that for a second here. So here we have just a video that's been placed on a site, and studies have shown that sites that have video, people spend an average of 88% more time on the site. So why is that important, besides just having people on your site? A recent SEMrush report that we looked at stated that the number 2 most important factor contributing to a website's search ranking was time spent on your site. The more time someone spends on, the more time potential client spends on your site, Google's reads that as a valuable site, and it's more likely to serve it up in their search results. Video on social media. We already mentioned this, but using video on Facebook drives an average of 1,200% more shares than text and images combined. And also, rank sites with quality video as more valuable, like we were mentioning. They're more likely to rank these sites higher in search. This is an example of a search we did just to show you how the interesting things that are happening. We searched on Google for addiction treatment centers and just used the video tab here. And if you can, the results we get, although yes, they're videos, they're not linking back to YouTube. They're linking back to the sites that are hosting the video. Well, what does that mean? It means it's more direct site traffic, which is, I believe that's the #1 factor in Google deciding where it's going to place you in search rankings. So that's a lot about video. So if you haven't considered trying video, or you want to know where to get started, you don't need to hire a film crew to do this. You can do a lot of this in-house on your own, depending on your budget. So if you have at least a little bit of a budget, we're going to call this a high budget. This is all you would need to get started with creating your own video. You would need a YouTube account. You'd need a DSLR camera or a tripod, a computer to edit on, of course, a microphone. People overlook this. If you're going to be doing an interview, you're going to be doing a testimonial, you want quality audio. It's almost as important as the video. And then you want to make sure that you have your editing software, Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere. And this is an example here of some quality video you can get with a setup like you have on the right here. Now, this can cost between $1,500 and $5,000, depending on the type of equipment you're using. If that's a bit much, you don't need to start with a high-budget setup. You can start with probably a lot of what you already have. All you need is a YouTube account. You need your cell phone or a tablet, a computer for editing, and some free software like iMovie or Windows Movie Maker. This is some footage here just from a Samsung phone. I mean, you can get some amazing footage from our phones these days. But you can use those tools to create tours of your facility and to do short interviews. Really, what I'm getting at is there's no reason to not start creating some video content. Most of the tools you probably already have, and it's engaging. It can help you, it can help you with your Google rankings, and it can help you be found on the second largest search engine in the world. As content, video is versatile. It can be used for reviews, testimonials, staff introductions, facility tours, as well as advertising. You can also add video, jumping back to the Google My Business, you can add like a tour of your facility, or a virtual tour, or a staff introduction, and add those videos to your Google My Business account from YouTube, which can also help improve your search rankings. Because as we showed you before, Google really likes video. If you do need any help setting up your YouTube account, or need anyone to look at your VSEO or create some video advertising for Facebook and YouTube, be sure to let us know. We'll be happy to help you out and answer any questions. But with that, we're going to move over to Joseph for our 6th strategy, which is alumni programs and reviews.
So, strategy 6, alumni programs and reviews. Why would we need this? Creating an alumni program, creating advocates for your program, your facility, and your staff. Gathering reviews, like we said and talked about on GMB or Facebook earlier, not only improve transparency and trust around your facility, but also help your SEO search rankings. Here's a quote: "There is one marketing strategy that will say more and provide more value than any content you can produce or any advertising you can create: the opinions of others." So some of these opinions, or some types of testimonial and review content to consider, would be testimonials of your program, success stories, alumni speaking about your program and your staff that creates a value and credibility. I can speak from my experience. I've spoken at my treatment center. I created a great impact on what parents and clients thought about the program because they had the opportunity to hear a firsthand experience about our program and its benefits. So with that being said, another tip would be creating referral programs. At the end of treatment, when a client is the happiest, or on family weekend, if you guys have that, when morale is very high, you can start a referral program then. And it doesn't have to be then. You can use Facebook posts or create email newsletters. Again, these are just a couple tips on how to get that referral program started. So, alumni programs. If you don't have an alumni program, now might be the time to start one for your facility. This provides long-term support for your clients. You know, Facebook is an effective tool in keeping clients connected. Keeping alumni sticky to the program and tight will aid in creating long-term recovery. Just as it is used in any anonymous program, you know, staying connected and close to the herd keeps everybody clean. So another great tool are free support groups maybe you hold at your place, or meetings or whatever it may be, and advertising these held at your center and posting these events on your website and social media pages are a great way to keep the community connected and will also drive more traffic to your facility. And so some of the key benefits, you know, of why we should have this alumni program, you know, it shows a public commitment to your client's postgraduate recovery, building that trust, which is very important. Let you keep consistent contact with your clients, keeping you top of mind, build a network for future friends and family who may need help, and let you gather testimonials and generate more reviews. So all this adds content to your site, which can help your SEO. And with that being said, I will push it back over for strategy 7.
Great, thank you so much, Joseph. So it's Bernard again here talking about marketing automation. This is one area that is really, really valuable and builds an asset for your addiction treatment center, and that's having your email list. In fact, email marketing not only can get you immediate results, but it is the single cheapest marketing tactic that you can do if it's done right. So marketing automation begins by planning one-on-one communication with all your leads. First, start by identifying your different target audiences. For instance, you have a parent whose teenage son has a cocaine addiction and they contact you. In this case, it's a mom and she's shopping around for a facility. She likes what you have to say, but she isn't quite sold on your facility yet. This is where marketing automation comes in. From the form she's completed or the information captured by your team member, we create a series of helpful triggers that kick off a series of carefully crafted email. These emails are personalized and they seem like one-on-one discussions. For instance, you could create a series of emails in this particular scenario, like why choose your facility, including video testimonials and videos from your staff. You might provide information on cocaine treatment and what this parent should know. And then you could send a follow-up email on how the treatment works and why they should choose your facility. So these are all a series of emails that could be really helpful and keep your facility top of mind, especially during this time, this critical time of decision making. So a couple of tips. Begin by identifying all your most popular audiences, new prospects, new alumni, parents of clients, etc., etc. Write really personalized emails that are written in the first person. So it's got to have that feeling as if you personally wrote that email to that particular individual. Determine how these emails are triggered on your website. This is normally handled through forms, someone opening up an email, someone returning to your website, someone using content or going to particular content on your site. You can reuse your content, and this is the type of thing we start with, is we'll do a content audit. Do you have any ebooks? Do you have any helpful articles? Do you have any program information? Do you have any videos? Do you have any success stories or newsletters? And then you put these into these email queues, you create this nurture campaign, and then you sit back and you see the business start rolling in. I know this might sound like an exaggeration, but once again, if you set up a marketing automation program, you will see that it keeps building business over and over, and as each scenario repeats itself, marketing automation can help a lot. So I'm going to hand back to Matt, who's going to talk about influencer marketing.
Okay, one of my favorite subjects. Influencer marketing, it's been really on the rise the last 5 years or so, and if you're not familiar with it, basically influencer marketing involves identifying an individual who may have an influence over a potential audience that you want to reach, and then building marketing activities around those influencers. In short, an influencer is anyone who has a sizable network of people who follow and engage with them. It could be on Facebook or bloggers or YouTubers or Instagrammers. But why would you want to do this? Why would you want to approach it this way? Well, Influencer marketing can be a very effective way to advertise your facility and your programs. You can gain additional exposure to a new audience that you may not have had access to before. It can also be a great way to create additional buzz and exposure for your addiction treatment center and the programs you have to offer. And not to mention there are added SEO benefits to collaborating with an influencer. So this is just one example of a campaign that we did within your industry. We had this influencer named Katie. She's a licensed therapist who creates content about mental health and addiction subjects, and she has almost 250,000 subscribers just on YouTube, a huge audience. So in this campaign, we co-produced a video that was centered around drug addiction and recovery. And she also Katie also discussed by name our addiction treatment center client and discussed their inpatient programs in quite a bit of detail. The video was viewed thousands of times and also provided a backlink in the description back to our client's website. Now, in this one campaign, there was a lot of traffic driven directly to the site and also gave our client a warmer group of leads than they may have been able to get otherwise. So just in this one example, we have exposure, advertising, increased site traffic, and SEO all going on at the same time. Now, let's look at just what are some of the benefits. I mean, when we pair our value proposition with an influencer, our marketing can have a much greater impact. It can help jumpstart our pipeline. So to recap, just some of the benefits. You can reach a new audience that you wouldn't have had access to before. You can increase awareness to your facility and the programs that you offer. Collaborating with a trusted influencer can help build trust for your facility and the programs you provide. It can increase web traffic and provides warmer leads than a standard PPC campaign. If people trust the influencer, they're more likely to trust their recommendations, which can provide warmer leads. And finally, as we stated earlier, between the direct web traffic and linking that takes place within an influencer campaign, you can see some great benefits to your SEO. So this is definitely something to consider. You can try reaching out to influencers in your niche. You can research and hopefully find them that you'd like to work with, and you can try to message them directly on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter if you want to get in touch. Or if you need help pinpointing some influencers that would work best with your program, again, let us know. We'll be happy to answer any questions. With that, we're going to move on to our final strategy with Bernard, which is lead tracking and conversion.
Thanks so much, Matt. And this is probably, again, another really important factor. So you say, well, why lead tracking, why conversion? Well, we know that driving leads to your site is extremely, extremely expensive. This is actually one of the techniques, one of the tactics that we use that can save addiction treatment centers a lot of money. For instance, just a 1% or 2% improvement in conversion can dramatically decrease the cost of bringing on a new client into your facility. And so it's something to really consider. Conversion is something that is a never-ending process of improvements, and you basically are tweaking your website over and over. The image that you're seeing there are just some of the areas that we work on to improve conversion. So testing the headline, just trying out different headlines, trying different supporting headlines, trying different images, increasing or decreasing the number of fields on a form, changing out the calls to action, looking at the different benefits that we can call out on that particular page, as well as other items like risk reversals. So I just wanted to show you one example. We have some really nice software that actually records users' every movement on the website. You can actually see this live, or you can see this historically. We also have the ability to do heat mapping, and heat maps so that you see where your visitors are interacting or not interacting on your website. And I'll take you through a simple example that actually increased page conversion by 20%. In this case, we were using a heat map, and we realized that the introductory video that, incidentally, our client had put a lot of money into producing, it was all about their facility, and no one was really clicking on this video. Firstly, the video was far too far down on the page, so everyone had to scroll down to see the video, and next people didn't realize that they were even looking at a video because it had no overlays to make it seem clickable. So what we did is, to resolve this, is we simply moved the video high up on the page and we added a play button to the video. So both of these might seem extremely rudimentary and easy, but something like that is, those are kind of quick wins you can get by actually seeing where people are getting confused on your website. So here's some tips for lead tracking and conversion. Testing is a never-ending process. Tweaks to your site can literally turn all your marketing around, and we've seen this over and over. People spending a lot of money driving traffic, but not really focusing on how to convert that traffic and making changes that really turn a program that's not profitable into something that's highly profitable. You need to break your testing down into steps and focus on the user's journey across your site. You need to try and find those pages that are having the highest abandonment rates, the pages that are getting the most traffic, and you should always start with mobile. I know we've mentioned that a number of times. Most people make the mistake of doing all their testing on desktop. Mobile and tablet are two areas which, as we move into 2018, are going to be extremely important. Test your forms and calls to action relentlessly. Forms can be counterintuitive. Sometimes adding more fields can actually improve conversion. The other areas, as mentioned before, we have these live videos where you can understand why a lead didn't convert or where leads are getting confused on your website. And you can optimize your marketing so you can eliminate waste. You also do telephone tracking. This is extremely important. Listen to calls, review chat sessions. One case study we had was a treatment center that put in our telephone tracking, and they had a call center that literally after one day of listening into the calls that they got rid of because of the quality, and until that point they had no way of understanding and tracking how well those telephone calls are being handled. Bottom line is that your conversion software should help you understand which marketing dollars are working for you, so you can increase those dollars and you can get better return, and then also identify which ones are not working well for you and either dump those strategies or rework those activities so you can improve your return on investment.
So in conclusion, there is a lot to consider when marketing for your addiction treatment center or your rehab center in this unsure quasi-post-paid Google advertising world. With so many options, making a decision about how to proceed can obviously be a challenge, and we completely understand and respect that. But we hope that we've given you some insight as to some possibilities and some marketing strategies that are still available to you that can hopefully allow you to attract more clients and gain an edge when it comes to marketing against your competition in the industry. And with that, we would like to open it. Oh, yes, almost forgot. Make sure to download our companion ebook. If you didn't receive it in your emails yet, please feel free to let us know. Shoot us an email, give us a call. It's of course completely complimentary. We'll make sure we send that out to you ASAP, and it digs far deeper into a lot of the information we've covered today. So with that, we'd like to open it to Q&A, and Bernard, you mentioned there should be they can enter their questions into a box there?
That's correct. So we're going to go and have a look to see. I'm going to go into the Join Me session over here and see if we can actually identify any questions that people may have given us, if I could actually do that. Also, what I'm going to do is, excuse technical issues here. Let me just make sure that I get to the question box. Okay. There we go. So, okay, it doesn't look like anybody left us any questions. Please, if you could do that. What I'll do as well is we'll open this up so anybody, I'm going to unmute everyone. And so please feel free to ask any questions. We'll open that up as well. If you don't want to write questions, just ask any questions of us. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anyone with any questions?
Can we get an audio copy of your presentation?
Yeah. So we'll send out a link to this presentation, and we'll also send out the copy of the slides as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Anyone want us to recap anything we talked about or go deeper into any specific subject? Okay.
So someone asked, what's the difference between a professional YouTube channel or a personal one?
Professional and personal. A lot of that, well, here's the thing. Depending on the kind of business that you have, and we're in a very specific vertical here, but the difference as far as the usability, I think you're talking about a business YouTube channel. Because you can use them in very similar ways. A lot of it is going to be, if you have a business YouTube channel that you're going to be trying to throw a lot of advertising on and adding AdSense to, you obviously can have an opportunity to build some income that way. But as far as the actual uploading and usability, that's all pretty much going to be the same. A lot of it is the way you're going to brand your professional page or your personal page. My recommendation, unless your personal persona is your business, you should probably keep things just branded to your actual facility and let those personal personas come out in the actual video content you produce.
Yeah, so I mean, just to add to what Matt said, you'd always want to go with a business profile just because, first of all, the facility owns that profile. If someone leaves, you don't want the profile to be going with them, and you want to, it also comes with the ability to brand and to advertise when you have a professional, business YouTube channel. So that's what I would always do. And when we talked a little bit about video SEO, and it's good to break out a series of emails as well, and really identify, come up with a plan. It's not just having one video, but a series of videos that really helps you to get rankings on YouTube. So wondering if there are any other questions, maybe some about search engine optimization, maybe a couple more about what Google's done. I can tell you that we have a dedicated Google representative in Mountain View, and we speak about the changes every single week. I think Google themselves doesn't know what the outcome is going to be, what kind of advertising is or is not going to be available to individuals. So every week it's changing. I know that Google certainly has a lot of vested interest in doing advertising for drug rehab because it's so lucrative for them. But they also have these pressures to do the right thing. So we got a question here. What's your opinion on using local geo-tracker for the addiction treatment industry? So that's actually a really interesting question. So schema is something, local schema is something that Google really likes. It's something that we always add when we do local SEO. So what you want to do is make sure you do add that local schema, your name, address, and telephone number. That's one of the major factors that will get you rankings. You can go one further and actually put in the longitude and latitude, or it's your actual location. This is used for GPS tracking and people finding your facility. And these are little tricks that people use when they actually trying to get rankings on the web. So we definitely endorse that. And I think as more and more people get more sophisticated in the back end and how they format their pages, schema code, both location code, reviews code, and things like that, they all help in getting organic rankings for your facility. Okay. Any other questions? Again, we all should be unmuted. So if you do want to just ask your question directly and don't want to type it, you're more than welcome to. If we don't have any more questions, then I think we'll close it out. And please feel free to contact us if you have any questions. One of the things that we have to, what's your opinion on listing services such as rehabs.com. Okay, great question. If it generates leads for you, we believe that you should try as many diverse programs as possible. We believe in getting your name out there as much as possible. Rehabs.com does not have do follow links. So just getting your rehab out there doesn't mean that you're going to get a link back to your website. There are other listing services like recommended rehabs, things like that actually have a follow link back. Those are good as well. But I don't think that there's an issue, and I think that if it works for you and you're getting a return on investment, you should try. And I think that's what we were trying to bring to the forefront here today is get as many different marketing strategies out there as possible and find the best return on investment. Some of them are short-term, some of them long-term, some of them are very expensive. But for some of our clients, something like rehabs.com really does work for them.
Yeah, if I can kind of spin off of that, I think one thing too is one of the things about having so many strategies, you don't want to lean on one and use that as your only source, because if something goes wrong with that source, then you're really up a creek. So that's why something to consider is if you, and some of you may have a lot of this done already, but beyond just listing services, if you have your Google My Business and your Facebook page, and if you do an Instagram page and you do your YouTube page, and you have these multitude of areas where you're listed online, all tying back to your site, the multitude of those together is going to give you, no one of those is going to be perfect, but using them all integrated with each other is going to be, something you don't want to neglect. So there's nothing wrong with having your service on a listing, but you just don't want to simply rely on a single listing as your main source of generating leads for your facility. Oh, another question.
As far as content, you said daily. Do you recommend more than once a day? And I guess the question is like, what kind of content are we talking about? I think we were talking about social when you mentioned daily.
Yeah, and you can. I'll kind of talk to this, but if you want to go deeper, let us know. As far as content, yeah, I said articles too. Sure. Really, when it comes to how often to upload or how often to post, what you don't want to do is become just a nuisance. And what I mean is that if you find a bunch of articles, but none of them are yours, and you're posting 5 articles a day on Facebook, that's not going to be as valuable as creating a single piece of targeted content that's your own, and then then posting that. But that, again, we're talking specifically about Facebook. I read another study that said if you're on Twitter, the average number of posts is 15 posts a day. But that's a different platform. You're going to have a different audience. So what I would focus on as far as content goes is focus on if you can do quality content daily, that's far more important than less quality more often. But if you can only do some quality content, start 2 or 3 times a week, on Facebook. That's a good place to get started and work yourself up to one solid piece a day.
Yeah, I think that's a really good topic. Is what about content? I think as we move into 2018, less is more, and quality rather than quantity. So a lot of the philosophy up to now is, get out there, make sure that you're tweeting or you're posting very often. The problem with Facebook especially is that paid ads are showing up a lot more and your organic listings are showing up less. So if you are focused on organic, yes, you do need to post more. If you're focused on Google, you want to get out some really good longer form content that is going to get people to interact with the content. This is easier said than done. That's why we start out always by looking at the type of questions for the type of personas that you have out there, because Google is putting a lot of value on quality content, and you'll see that just it's more. Google's lulled us into all using Google Analytics, so they do know how long people are spending on a particular page. That's called dwell time, and it's kind of well known, even though it's not documented by Google. So they're looking at user experience, how much time people are spending on the particular page, how much are they interacting with the content, and whether they share that content. So those are the things that, as we move into 2018, I'd be focusing on less but primary content, rather than rehashing what everyone else is doing. And again, I know this isn't easy, and that's why that is what works really well, is try and focus on getting content that's primary research, like some of the things that we were hoping we presented today, examples that we found in us doing digital marketing, situations where we've researched thousands of pieces of content. Those help from our perspective with digital marketing. For you, it's actual treatments that have worked, things that you're doing differently, and not kind of rehashing, why choose our marijuana treatment facility, which I think a lot of people do. It needs to be more like, what's going to happen with the legalization of marijuana in California, and how is that going to impact, overall, be topical, be timely, and provide, but also provide good evergreen content that can sit out there on your website forever and just get lots and lots of people talking about it. And I think the way to do that is to have something that's well researched, to try and interview people at your facility. Often they're great doctors and analysts and others that can help, and the writer come up with wonderful content that people really want to read.
One thing, just to, not really a caveat, but one thing to consider too is, because I had mentioned daily and we were talking about Facebook, one thing you could test is if doing, if you want to post more than once a day, make it a variety. So you can have, your long form, well-researched article, but if you want to take some photos of your facility and, post photos and see how people react to that, that's an instance where you have some basically micro content and macro content, and you can see how people react to that.
So one last notice for everyone who's still online. We're offering a free consultation just to help you. If you want in any area, please send anything, any questions that you might have. We'll send out our contact information. We'd love to help you in any direction. There's no obligation in any way. And so we're offering an audit. We're offering a free consultation. And I thank you again for everyone who came and attended the meeting today. We really appreciate your time and your participation. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody.